like you said, I had the laptop open yesterday as well, watching Inoue at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Beat TJ Dahoney. Obviously, look, an unfortunate stoppage in the way in which the fight ended, but it seemed like it was going one way for me anyway. Inoue started to go through the gears, I felt like. And TJ Dahoney seemed to be, I think, come sort of round 5-6 on that survival mode and just, okay, how do I deal with this on-rushing swarm of punches that Inoue was throwing at him? What did you make of Inoue? Obviously, the discussions will start, and we're going to have so many discussions about where he is in the pound-for-pound rankings. But what did you make of just his performance overall?
It wasn't the best thing I've seen from him, but he was a massive favourite. Obviously, TJ Dahoney was a big underdog in this fight. And I think Inoue's overconfidence was kind of showing. He was just planting his feet. We saw a little bit of movement early on, a bit of dancing. He's a great mover, of course. But I also think he got hit a lot more than we usually see. Dahoney landed, I looked at the stats earlier, 26 body punches, which I thought he was taking more than usual. And for the first few rounds, he did keep Inoue at bay. But then, coming into the sixth round, I think Inoue threw 61 punches. And Inoue himself, of course, landed 31 body punches, 30 power punches in that sixth round. And then that leg was hurt at the end of the sixth round. And then 4 power punches in the opening seconds of the seventh, and it was all over. But you've got to say, at the very least, and there was a kind of punch to the hip, wasn't there? But
yeah,
it was very dominant. We expected him to win. Dahoney was a target because he'd had 3 fights in Japan heading into this fight, so the Japanese fans knew who he was. And the big question is, people are saying, oh, does he still belong in the top 3 pound for pound? You can't judge him on that performance. I don't think he's aging. I just think it was a fight that mentally he didn't have to get up for too much, and it reflected in his performance.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. It's almost as though, I think disdain's the wrong word, but he had little respect, I felt, for what was coming back from Dahoney. It was almost like, okay, this is just one of those fights where I'm going to just get rid of you. I don't really care what's coming back. And that's probably why he got hit a lot more than we expected. But for me, still very much a top 3 pound for pound in whichever order, right? I mean, Crawford, Usyk, in Inoue. There's been so many discussions after the fight about whether or not he needs to fight away from Japan. Who next? On the fight away from Japan thing, I mean, we have a fighter here that's a rock star in Japan, right? He sells out stadiums over there and makes millions of pounds or dollars or whatever. Why does he need to fight away from Japan? Like, what's the rush to see him in a Vegas or a Saudi or even a London? Does that need to happen for his own legacy?
I think he's already got a legacy, a very strong legacy in Japan. I mean, the fight before this, I think there were 55,000 people turn out to see him.
Yeah.
Fight Louis Neri in Tokyo. I think it's a legacy that's being foisted on him. I think if we talk about the Saudi Arabians, Bob Arum obviously has said in the ring after the fight that he wanted him to come to Las Vegas to fight next without mentioning an opponent. Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, Turki Al-Sheikh has said, I don't like these 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning fights. But it's inevitable in different time zones. And I did write a column after and I just say, Vegas is a good plan. Turki Al-Sheikh wants him to start getting into that promotional family that he's been building for a year now. My feeling is that he's probably got 5 or 6 fights left. There's nothing wrong with him fighting in Vegas again. I think he's a bigger name than he was when he fought there before. He fought in Glasgow. Saw 2 rounds of 2 to 3 rounds of the beautiful brutality that he does have, and people didn't really know who he was. I wrote a column after Neri saying, here's arguably the number 1 pound for pound in the world who no one knows. outside the die-hard, hardcore boxing fans and observers, he should be celebrated more. And I think if he was headlining on a stacked Riyadh season card that included a lot of Americans and Brits in really exciting fights on the undercard, then it would make him a bigger name. It's all down to him. You know, he favours Aladdin, so all I'll say is maybe it's time to get the genie out of the bottle.
I like it. I like that line. He's a super bantamweight king, right? I mean, that's the division or junior featherweight, whichever way you want to do it, 122 pounds. The next step is 126. So the questions, I guess, now is, does he stay at 122 and almost circle the block and look for opponents that he's either just missed or that he's beaten? Or does he go up to 126 where maybe there are names that the general public know a bit more? And then you can have that fight in Vegas or in Riyadh. So the 126, the featherweight guys like Nick Ball, Lee Wood is still there, Ray Vargas, Angelo Leo. Again, names that the general public, whether it be in the UK or America, know more. I think he can beat all those guys, by the way. But it makes for more exciting fights when people know who he's fighting. And this is not to discredit anything he's done or the guys at 122 or below that 118, 115. But I do feel like he might just need to take a risk going up another weight class to beat someone that we all like, okay, I know that name. And then it just makes for an easier fight for the general boxing casual fans to get involved with.
Yeah, I mean, I've already nailed my colours to the mast on this. I think Nick Ball is a great matchup for him.
It's a good one, isn't it? It's a very good fight.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be a great fight.
Nick Ball's energetic and he's 100 miles per hour. It's a good fight, yeah.
Yeah, and also he's a guy that is growing in resonance with British fans. People know that he's had those great fights in recent times. He's a, you know, he beat Ray Ford. I thought he was very unlucky not to win the world title against Ray Vargas. We all know that. You know, Ray Vargas, another guy. I mean, I'd like to see him in against Nick Ball. That's my call. But there are people around, and it's got to be a world title. I think he might want one fight that is at featherweight. I mean, there's Tomoki Kameda, who's the IBF number 3 in the rankings. But if he's going to go to Vegas, you know, does that mean he's going to step up against like a Bruce Carrington, who's promoted by Bob Arum? You know, does he fight I don't know. I don't know who he fights, frankly, at Super Feather. You know, there's a few Brits around. There's Liam Davis around, but it's a difficult
Super Feather. At what Super Feather? Jumping 2 weight classes.
At Super Bantam.
Okay.
I think he should go up to feather, in my view, and just try and do it there, unless he just wants to defend the undisputed crown. He's got Sam Goodman, Alan Picasso, great name, by the way, an artist in the ring. Akhmadaliev is there.
That's the one. That's the one
I
Eddie
think
wants.
so, maybe. Is that who you like?
Akhmadaliev. Yeah, that's the one that Eddie promotes, and he's the champion, and he's dangerous. And I think that's the one that Eddie wants, and I think that's the one that Turkey probably wants as well.
Stylistically, it's brilliant.
Yeah, look, he's got options. He's a pound-for-pound star. He's got options. Or he can just stay in Japan and do what he's been doing for the last few years. And again, as I say, sell out arenas, sell out stadiums, and not care about the time zone for anyone else in the world because it works for them over there, and he's a big star over there. We'll see what he does. One thing Bob has says, though, very quickly, is that he will potentially fight either the back end of this year or early next year. So if it is the back end of this year, that's a pound-for-pound star that's having 4 fights in 12 months, which, again, needs to be applauded because the other pound-for-pound guys, as we know, aren't doing that. They're doing 1 fight a year, maximum twice a year. Here we have a pound-for-pound star in the peak of his powers, giving us 4 fights in 12 months, and I think that needs to be looked at a bit more.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.